Hello, Paul Lobb with an update on the Hunter's flooding emergency. Several areas of the Hunter have been affected by major flooding. Dungog and the Maitland area have been worst hit. Here's the big picture. New South Wales Premier Mike Baird has declared the event a natural disaster that will unlock special funding for people affected. 3 people are dead after being caught in floodwaters at Dungog. 2 people are missing, feared drowned near Maitland after trying to drive across a flooded creek. More than 200,000 customers are still without electricity between Newcastle and Sydney. NBN weatherman Gavin Morris is amongst the storm debris in Newcastle's Civic Park. And Gav, it's nice to see that weather improving now.
Yes, it certainly is, Paul. A little bit of sunshine, there's been some blue sky, the clouds are rolling in. There's a little bit of a breeze, but look, conditions, well, are far more favourable throughout this afternoon's period. And the big clean-up is underway, and this is where the community all comes in. Behind me is an army of council workers trying to clean up this park that looks like a bomb went off in here. This has probably been one of the big talking points because it's right in the centre of town. It's very visual and so many big trees have gone down. And right behind me is the epitaph. All of this has to be cleaned up for the big day. Anzac Day is just a number of days away. And normally all of the seats are here. We've got the town hall just to my left, and there's going to be literally thousands of people sitting behind me come Saturday morning at the dawn service. So the army of workers is down behind me at the moment. They're working up through the park. So it's these highly visual areas, the main arteries, that are on the forefront as far as the big clean-up is concerned. SES workers, the crews are now coming in from around the state, and they'll be running shifts 24 hours a day, working the same kind of scenario. Even though these guys are working those main arteries, it's the same thing for the SES. They're working those big jobs and then getting to the small ones. Same story for Ausgrid, trying to get the power on to so many suburbs that were blacked out yesterday. 100,000 locally, and they're slowly coming on one by one, suburb by suburb, tree by tree, power line by power line. It's a gargantuan job, and literally thousands of people are now underway, but also family members. So many kids are off school, there's no electricity. The kids go, "What do I do, Dad? There's nothing to do." Get them out there and clean up the yard. There's plenty to be done in the coming days. And of course, it all begins at home with yourself. Being patient, waiting for the SES workers to come and do those really big jobs, or maybe council workers or Ausgrid as well, to get that power back on. But we'll be driving around, we'll be taking a look at everything else that's going on. Of course, the floodwaters, some still rising, most are receding as well. And we're slowly putting this city, this valley and the Central Coast back together again.
And Gav, just quickly, can we now say that this weather event is over for the local area, for the Hunter, the Central Coast and the Valley?
Yes, it certainly is. Look, we're still seeing some winds. There's big seas at the moment, very dangerous. There's a lot of debris in the water. It's very murky along the coast and throughout the river. There's going to be some very dangerous conditions in the coming days as well, as those flood waters move downstream and eventually make their way out into the Stockton Bight. So it is going to be very messy and very dangerous across the waterways. And just a reminder, do not attempt to cross those flood waters, even though they're receding. We've seen some very nasty things unfold throughout today by people attempting to do just that.
Thank you, Gav. That's Gavin Morris reporting from Civic Park in Newcastle, where the storm clean-up is well underway. Well, there's been a tragic scene at Gilliston Heights near Maitland today, where 2 people are feared missing in floodwaters off Cessnock Road. Witnesses say a woman drove her small car across a flooded causeway. The car was swept into Fishery Creek. Passing motorists ran to her aid, and 4 would-be rescuers got into trouble and needed rescuing themselves. Efforts are underway to recover the car, which may have had a passenger in it as well. But floodwater in the Maitland area is still running quite swiftly. We have a clip here from a man who saw the woman's car being swept away.
Yeah, we're watching cars coming through the floodwaters, and there was a smaller car came through, and the force of the water coming across actually swept it off the road into the floodwaters, and it floated down a bit, then eventually it sunk. and from what we can gather, they opened one passenger door. As soon as they did that, the water got in and down it went. I called the emergency service as it was being washed off the road. I could see it was going to go in, so I rang 000 straight away and spoke and actually relayed what was happening to the police as the car was going down, because I would ask if it was floating and what was happening, and I actually described it until there was only just the tail lights showing. Oh mate, I'm devastated. I drove through the bloody thing and I shouldn't have come through, but it wasn't very high. And I'm absolutely devastated that I actually saw it. I'm shaking, and I'm just devastated that these people have done that. And I did the same thing bloody 15 minutes before, but it wasn't as bad. And that's a warning to me, mate. I'd never go through my limits up a little bit, never again.
A witness describing the scene there at Gilliston Heights near Maitland. And in an unrelated emergency as well, a small baby was taken on board one of the rescue boats and crossed the stream there in the same spot at Gilliston Heights. Now, this situation wasn't related to the emergency with the cars, but it was a 4-month-old baby with medical condition. We don't know exactly what the problem was with the child, but it needed to be evacuated from the other side of the creek and taken across so it could be taken to hospital. So a very delicate package there being handled by the emergency workers. We have some new information about the 3 people who died in flooding at Dungog yesterday. They were 79-year-old Colin Webb, 72-year-old Brian Wilson and Robin McDonald, aged 68. All were trapped in their residences after a flash flood swept through the town yesterday morning. Flood warnings remain in place for the Hunter, Williams and Patterson rivers, the Wyong River and also Tuggerah Lake. The water has been very high on Lake Macquarie too. Now, social media has been abuzz with all sorts of images over the last couple of days, and we have a small selection to show you now. This is the car park at Lake Macquarie Yacht Club at Belmont, which was underwater last night and this morning. Bulladila, big water there crossing the road too, sent in by Kylie Tosh. East Maitland, the cattle there, the livestock on those flooded plains, really eerie scene there. Head and Greeter, Christy Adelaide sent this one in, water across the road there. Amazing social media images. Crowders Bay, the high water level there in Lake Macquarie. Jacinta Parameter sent that one in too. And here's Deb Ellercamp's friend at Swansea paddling down the street. Also Swansea Esplanade, Jessica Anavala there sent in an interesting image as well. Also, if you were unlucky enough to be on holidays in the last few days, it wouldn't have been the best weather to be on holiday, but how about being out to sea in 12-metre seas? Now, the cruise liner, the Carnival Spirit, was on its way back yesterday from a cruise in the Pacific. They'd been visiting beautiful tropical locations, but they had to come back through those 12-metre seas, and I'm sure there wasn't much Carnival Spirit on the ship yesterday, with all those people probably feeling a little bit under the weather as well. Now, some important numbers for you. If you are in need of help, if you are in an area affected by flooding, or you have a power emergency or no water, these are the numbers you need to contact. 132 500 for the SES. Ausgrid, the inquiry number there is 13 13 65. And Hunter Water, there are a lot of areas around the Hunter and Central Coast that, due to the flooding, the water pipes have actually broke. So if you have no water supply, you can contact Hunter Water on 1300 657 000. Well, make sure you visit NBN's website, Facebook and Twitter for more news throughout the afternoon, but we'll have a complete wrap-up of the storm recovery and flooding in NBN's Hour of News tonight at 6.